games last night. Boston and Washington ended up going double overtime and unfortunate mishap. Just a brain fart by the goaltender and defenseman Schultz on the Washington Capitals end on the puck being dumped in. And yeah, I guess just a lackluster effort by the defenseman, poor communication on the goalie's end as well. And Boston wanted it more. They just hustled, got the puck, tucked it in the net, and it's as simple as that in the playoffs. Any shot's a great shot, and it was the ice, the way that the game was going at that moment in time. The ice was heavily tilted. It was hard for Washington to get the puck out of the zone. Like they were under pressure hardcore in overtime, and it was just a matter of time before there was a mishap like that or the goalie just didn't save one or whatnot. But it sucks to see it end that way because who knows how many more overtimes it potentially could have went. But yeah, I mean, way to go, Boston. That was my pick to get out of round one for that series. So I'm glad they're up 2-0 or 2-1. Then you had Carolina last night ass handed whooped Nashville 3-0. Like I said, that series is going to be a quick 4-0 or 4-1. Nashville just doesn't have what it takes. Granted, I know the atmosphere playing in Carolina is absolutely insane. Nashville's the same way. So if that crowd can create some energy for Nashville, who knows if they can squeak one or two out. This is their chance taking the home ice here tonight or tomorrow, I should say, and seeing if they can get back in the series. Because if you go down 3-0, that's very, very, very tough to come back from, especially in this day and age in hockey. Then Winnipeg Edmonton kicked off last night. McDavid takes the ice. He was held to 0 shots through the first basically whole game. I think he ended the game with 1 shot, I believe, which came with like a minute or two left in the game. Winnipeg seemed like they came up with a strategy to stop them. I know Connor Hellebuck stood on his head quite a bit for Winnipeg, but yeah, I think Edmonton's going to have to figure something out. They're going to have to figure out a different part of their game instead of just giving it to McDavid or Draisaitl and expecting them to do it all. Um, Two guys can't get it done for you, especially in the playoffs here. You look at all these teams that are winning, they're getting production from their third and fourth line guys, which is what it takes. Everybody's got to chip in and do their part. Goalie's got to be able to stop some pucks. That's what you got to be able to do to win the game. And then another series that's going to be over really quick. Colorado down St. Louis last night, 6-3. Nazem Kadri, member of the St. Louis Blues or Colorado Avalanche, excuse me, fucking head checked a guy on the Blues, one of the top defensemen, Justin Falk. He did the same thing last year when he was in Toronto. He got suspended for the rest of the series. Who knows what the suspension is going to be this time? I also am predicting a fine to be assessed to the St. Louis Blues as well. They chirped the NHL saying how he should be suspended. So it's kind of like the New York Rangers deal. They chirped the league. The league's going to slap them on the wrist saying, hey, you can't do that. So I'm expecting the St. Louis Blues to get fined probably $250,000, which is about the same. And then I don't know. I can see anywhere from a 2 to maybe a 7 and a $5,000 to $10,000 fine. It was a for the people who play like the old school hockey players like myself who grew up like in that physical style where it's different now. It was a borderline hit, but you still can't shoulder to the head. Whether or not you're doing it on purpose or not, you still can't have your main point of contact with the head. And that's what happened. He took a shot, and on his follow through, whether it was intentional or not, he fully shouldered him right to the jaw, and that's a concussion. That's who knows what other types of like damage that caused to Justin Falk there on that play. And you just can't have that. I know the league's like trying to step in and stop all that stuff. It's like you can by just assessing the penalty and the fine to everybody, whether they do it on purpose or not. That shouldn't matter. like intentional or not, because even on a high sticking, you're skating down the ice and you're waving your stick around, you accidentally hit somebody in the face. That's a high sticking, whether you did it on purpose or not. The
Mhm.
only time that it's not is if you're shooting, and when you're on the follow through, it's coming up and hitting them. That's the only time it's not. Which obviously you're shooting the puck. I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the NHL does here. I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, Kadri, he hasn't. I don't think he's scored any goals or gotten any assists for the Avalanche so far in their 2 games. Nathan McKinnon so far is on the pace to run away with the Conn Smythe, which is the MVP of the playoffs. Um, yeah, just way too much. Colorado's got way too much power. They look like the favorite right now to win the Stanley Cup. Tampa's even looks surprisingly really good. It's going to be interesting to see what Florida can do tonight. And then I'll jump into tonight's game really quick here. Florida plays Tampa 6:30 USA. Tampa's up 2-0 and they have the home ice tonight. Pittsburgh heads into Long Island. They take on the Islanders at 7 on NBCSN. Montreal plays Toronto. This is Joe Thornton's 191st playoff game. There was a video that came out. He was skating around on the ice, and he was next to one of the rookies it was his first game, her first playoff game, and they were sitting there, and it was cool. It was like Joe playing in 191, this kid playing in his very first. It's like, holy shit, that's so many years difference.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh man, but yeah, they get underway at 7:30. Big news that's been talked about. I was watching the Boston game last night, and they were talking about Cole Caulfield being scratched game 1 by Montreal. Kasperi Kakaniemi, a center as well. He's also scratched, and the other young kid who's very good. People are questioning the coach's calls here. Why is he doing this now? Especially a lot of Habs fans are pissed. Caulfield scored 2 game winners against Toronto. You're playing against Toronto. Like, why wouldn't you have this kid in the lineup? He's got an
Mhm.
assist as well against the team, but some people are expecting he's going with the heavier set lineup for tonight to try to get a physical game in and wear them down game 1, to where he's going to bring in those speed guys for later in the series that are just going to be able to skate right around him, which if it works out, great for you, great plan. But I think that's going to be really tough to do against the Leafs team who can play physical and has the superstars on the team as well. Then the last game tonight, Vegas, Minnesota, tied 1-1. Hockey is back in the state of hockey. It's kicking off at the XL Energy Center tonight. Barnes should be rocking there. I can only imagine how pumped the Minnesota Wild fans are this year, that they have a great team and they really could potentially win the Stanley Cup. I mean, them, Vegas, Colorado, which is tough that all 3 of those teams end up being in the same division, but all 3 of those teams looking like the dark horse to come out of the West, or yeah, out of the West.